What made you decide on Urban Cowboy for what, I suppose, in effect, was a kind of comeback, wasn't it?
If you'd like to call it that, fine. Yes. Let's see. What made me decide? I think every actor likes to play a cowboy at one point in their career. This seemed a marvelous way to do it because of the, it seemed in a new vein to play a contemporary cowboy in a new setting.
It seems to be very much a male chauvinist pig world there. Do you go along with that kind of thinking?
Well, I don't personally go along with that way of thinking, but I think that is the way it is. But that doesn't necessarily reflect my personal taste in doing things.
What about that beard that you wore briefly at the beginning of the film? Did you grow it and wear it deliberately to distance yourself from the John Travolta of the previous films?
No, honestly, I had the beard in the beginning of the film because of laziness, first of all. I mean, before the film. And then when we went down to the club, we saw that a lot of the young people had the beards. And I said, it may be interesting for the first 5-10 minutes of the film to have him have this beard, since I had it already. If I hadn't had it, I wouldn't have bothered.
You know, I'd heard you actually wore it or grew it to start with because you'd been bitten by your dog.
Yes, I did. Right over here, there's a scar. And
very ungrateful dog.
Yes, well, it was a pup, not a big puppy, but it was, I sort of startled it, I guess, by, it was lying on the kitchen floor in a typical manner. And I went down to sort of cuddle with it, and it was surprised and got me.
You still got the dog?
No.
Nor the beard?
No, it was an English setter, as a matter of fact.
Oh, you can't trust Now, what about that mechanical bull riding? Did you use a stuntman for those sequences, or can you actually ride the thing yourself?
No, I'm pretty good at the bull.
Really?
Yes.
How come?
Well, because I trained about a month to maybe a month and a half, and really learned how to do it right, slowly and surely. And it's quite a brutal thing at first. From your knees to your crotch, you tend to get quite beaten up there. But after about the first week, you toughen up the legs, and it tends to get easier. Matter of fact, what's interesting is in the United States right now, because of the film, in California alone, there are 1,100 country western clubs, disco-turned country western clubs, that have come up and put the bulls in their nightclubs, and the people are dressing with the hats and the gear and riding the bulls and doing the same thing as I did in the movie, which I'm actually quite proud of.
Well, going back a bit to what I said right at the beginning, that in a sense you're making a comeback at the age of 26, Moment by Moment was something of a disaster. How did you feel about that? How did you react to it?
Well, I thought it was overreacted. I mean, the idea to call it a disaster, I mean, how can a film really be a disaster? I mean, it's only a film, really. And I thought it was at least a respectable try at something. And I thought it was really a media reaction more than a public reaction, because not enough people saw it.
But it was said at the time that you'd lost confidence, and that was why you'd backed out of making The American Gigolo. Was that true? Had you really lost confidence?
Well, no, because shortly after that I did Urban Cowboy, so I couldn't call it a lack of confidence. My mother had passed away, and I wasn't in the mood for doing a movie, really, and I needed a few months off because I hadn't had a break in a long time.
Well, you suddenly acquired the reputation of being a recluse, but maybe that was because you wouldn't give press interviews.
I think that is exactly it. Because I was far from a recluse. I always had people around me, family and friends, and you know, that again seemed a good thing to say, to create newsworthy type of things.
What effect does all this have on a young man who just suddenly comes out of nowhere? I mean, girls screamed when they saw you, they fainted at your feet, they wanted to tear your clothes off you. I mean, it must have some effect on you.
Well, I tend not to look at it as a negative. I mean, actually, it's quite nice. I mean, I wouldn't put myself in that position every day because of the physical abuse that you could have, but I take it as a compliment. There's enough press out there to deflate your ego every once in a while.
Well, looking back then over your career, the huge success of Saturday Night Fever and Grease, far less of a success, shall we say, with Moment by Moment, now Urban Cowboy. How have you emerged from all this? Are you more cynical, wiser?
I think I'm stronger, just personally, from whatever I've gone through for the last 3 years. And I think cynicism, I don't think I've become cynical, but I think I'm aware of the cynicism around me, and I'll give it less trust.
Because you've got a long time to go, haven't you? I mean, you're only 26. You've got a long career ahead of you. What kind of an actor do you see yourself as?
Kind of actor I've always been, you know, serious actor who likes to act.